The sound of my future mother-in-law's hand striking my face echoed through the garden. 200 wedding guests were just yards away. But in that moment, the world went silent. She thought she'd put me in my place. But what I said next didn't just end her reign of terror. It saved my marriage before it even truly began. My name is Emily, and my story starts 2 years ago in a bustling coffee shop. I was late, flustered, and just trying to get my morning caffeine fix when I collided with a man who had the kindest eyes I'd ever seen. That man was Liam. He was so mortified about my spilled coffee that he insisted on buying me a new one, which turned into him walking me to my office, a 10-minute walk that stretched into an hour of the easiest conversation I'd ever had. Liam was everything you read about in books. He was smart, driven, funny, and when he looked at me, it felt like the rest of the world just faded away. Our first few months together were a blur of happiness. It felt like a perfect modern fairy tale. The first hint that our story might not have a simple happy ending was Liam's reluctance to introduce me to his family. It took 3 months, and every time I brought it up, he'd get this pained look and change the subject. He finally admitted his mother was very protective and needed to be eased into the idea of him being in a serious relationship. I thought it was sweet. I had no idea protective was a code word for something much more sinister. The first meeting was at their home, a picture-perfect house in the suburbs. Liam's mother, Eleanor, greeted me with a smile that was all teeth and no warmth. She was polished and elegant, and she sized me up as if I were a piece of art she was considering for an auction, and deciding I wasn't worth the opening bid. She hugged Liam as if he'd just returned from war, then turned to me, offering a limp hand. "So you're the girl who's been taking up all of Liam's time," she said. "Not his girlfriend, just the girl." Dinner felt less like a meal and more like a deposition. She drilled me about my job, my education, and my family background. The moment I mentioned my dad was a mechanic and my mom was a teacher's aide, I saw a flicker of something in her eyes, a smug look of confirmation, as if she'd just proven a theory that I was beneath her son. Liam, bless his heart, was oblivious. He just sat there, proudly telling them all about my recent promotion and my volunteer work. His father, David, was warm and engaging, but I could feel Eleanor's disapproval radiating across the table like a cold draft. After that night, I told myself I was being too sensitive. But as Liam and I got more serious, Eleanor's behavior became impossible to ignore. When he proposed on a mountaintop at sunrise, it was the most magical moment of my life. But when we called his parents with the news, Eleanor's first words to me were, "Well, I hope you understand the responsibilities that come with marrying into a family like ours." Wedding planning was a slow-motion nightmare. Every decision I made, Eleanor tried to veto. We wanted a small, rustic vineyard. She pushed for an opulent country club. I found a simple, elegant wedding dress. She insisted on dragging me to designer boutiques to find something more appropriate for their circle. Her favorite tactic was the backhanded compliment. "Oh, that's certainly a unique choice, dear," she'd say, her voice dripping with condescension. And it was never our wedding day. It was always Liam's big day. Every time I tried to talk to Liam about it, he'd shut down. "She's just trying to help them." That's how she shows she cares. It's a lonely feeling, isn't it? When the person who is supposed to be your partner looks at your pain and tells you you're imagining it. That's when you start to wonder if you're the one who's crazy. The final straw before the wedding was the catering. Eleanor had insisted on handling it. We had agreed on a menu together, but when I called to confirm the final numbers, the caterer read back a list of pretentious dishes I'd never even heard of. When I confronted Eleanor, she didn't even blink. "I just upgraded it a little," she said smoothly. "You want to make a good impression, don't you?" That night, Liam and I had the worst fight of our relationship. He accused me of being ungrateful and stressed. I went to sleep wondering if I was strong enough for a lifetime of this. The morning of our wedding, I was a bundle of nerves and excitement. My bridesmaids, my sister Sarah, my best friend Jessica, and Liam's sister Chloe were my rocks. They kept me laughing and sane, and for a few blissful hours, I managed to forget about my mother-in-law-to-be. Then, Eleanor walked into the bridal suite. She was wearing a stunning floor-length gown in a shade of ivory so close to white it was a slap in the face on its own. Some people see a wedding as a union of two souls. Others see it as a battle for the spotlight. It was pretty clear that day which kind of person my mother-in-law was. She looked at my dress and sniffed. Well, it's certainly memorable. Then, she presented me with a heavy, ornate diamond necklace. A family heirloom, she announced, fastening it around my neck before I could protest. Now you look like a proper bride. I looked in the mirror and felt like I was wearing a costume of someone else's making. But when I saw Liam at the altar, all the anxiety melted away. We said our vows, we kissed, and for a few perfect moments we were just two people in love. The ceremony ended, and we were whisked away for family photos. That's when the carefully constructed piece of the day shattered. Eleanor immediately took charge, arranging everyone, directing the photographer, and physically moving me to the edge of the group so she could stand next to Liam. When she started criticizing my posture, something inside me finally snapped. "Eleanor," I said, my voice tight but steady, "I think the professional has it covered." The look she gave me was glacial. "Excuse me," she hissed. "I just think we should let him do his job," I replied. That's when she exploded. "Tired, are you?" she said, her voice rising. "I have been planning high society events for 25 years. I know what perfection looks like, but you have fought me every step of the way. You have shown no gratitude for everything I have done to give my son a perfect day." My family looked on in horrified silence. Liam's father tried to intervene, but she was unstoppable. She turned back to me, her eyes blazing. "You are not good enough for my son," she spat, her voice low and venomous. "You come from nothing. Your family has no class, no breeding. You will never belong in a family like ours." The silence that followed was absolute. And then she raised her hand and slapped me hard across the face. The sound was like a firecracker. Everyone froze. You have a choice in a moment like that. You can let the humiliation swallow you whole. Or you can find a strength you never knew you had. Maybe it takes being pushed to the absolute edge to finally find your footing. I took a deep breath, looked her straight in the eye, and the words just came. "You're right," I said, my voice clear and unwavering. "My family is different. My father is a mechanic who taught me the value of hard work. My mother is a teacher's aide who taught me the value of kindness. They taught me to treat people with respect and to stand up for myself when someone tries to tear me down." Her face was red, but she was listening. "For 2 years I have tried to win your approval," I continued. "I smiled through your insults, I made excuses for your cruelty, and I let you walk all over me, all to keep the peace for the man I love. But you didn't slap me because I was disrespectful. You slapped me because I dared to have a voice. You slapped me because you can't stand that Liam chose me, and you have no power to change that. You talk about class, but real class has nothing to do with money. Real class is about dignity and respect. It's about lifting people up, not putting them down. And it's about knowing how to behave, even when you don't get your way." I looked at her, then at Liam, who was staring at me as if seeing me for the first time. "I am going to be Liam's wife. I am going to be a part of this family. But I will never again allow you to treat me with such disrespect. We have 200 guests waiting to celebrate our marriage. You can either compose yourself and act like the lady you pretend to be, or you can leave. But you are done ruining my wedding day." Then I turned to Liam. "I'm going to go dance with my husband. You can deal with your mother." And with that I turned and walked away. Instead of feeling shame, I felt an incredible sense of freedom. Back at the reception, guests who had heard the story came up to me all night, not with pity but with respect. Liam found me 20 minutes later, his face pale with shock and regret. I am so sorry," he whispered, tears in his eyes. "I never saw it. I never wanted to see it." We talked for a long time that night, and for the first time he truly listened. He apologized for every time he dismissed my feelings, for every time he chose keeping the peace over defending me. That was 6 months ago. We've been in couples counseling ever since, learning how to set boundaries and communicate. It's amazing how a crisis can force someone to finally open their eyes. He had to see his mother for who she truly was before he could be the husband I truly needed. The relationship with Eleanor is civil but distant. She sent a half-hearted apology, but I know she'll never truly change. And I'm okay with that. I no longer need her approval. That slap wasn't my humiliation. It was my liberation. It forced a crisis that ultimately made our marriage stronger, and taught me that my worth isn't up for debate. I learned that standing up for yourself isn't about starting a fight. It's about ending one. If you've ever had to fight for your place in your own life, please share your story in the comments. You never know who you might be helping. And please subscribe for more true stories about finding your strength. Remember, you have the right to be treated with respect, and sometimes the most loving thing you can do for your relationship is to demand it.